Hey, welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Those of you who are watching live on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. Smash that like button, as all the cool kids are saying, or you can just gently tap it. It's fine. We appreciate a gentle tapping every now and again. So things are all aligning right now for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is set to go on Joe Rogan on Wednesday. Donald Trump just released this very powerful ad about the illegal immigration problem and the violent crime that comes with it. He just announced that he is going to start a restitution fund for victims of illegal immigrants. Everything is coalescing around the Trump-Vance ticket while Kamala is crashing and burning and, not agreeing to Joe Rogan. The latest was that she needs these stipulations. Well, she's not going to go to the Austin studio. She needs him to fly to her. And, oh, by the way, she can only handle an hour because there's not a lot going on up there. So she can't do the 3-hour format just like Donald Trump did. And Joe Rogan's like, I don't really think that I want to agree to that. You shouldn't, Joe. You shouldn't. She knows that it will make her look bad, and she's trying to save face here because everyone sees the implosion coming. And the Democrats, or as I like to refer to them, the party of projection. They are the party of projection. They are just, as they're watching their own party just go off of a cliff, they are just continuing to accuse the right of election interference and fanning the flames. They said the right is fanning the flames of political violence, but it turns out they are actually literally fanning flames on your votes if you live in Oregon or Washington state. That is a ballot drop box on fire. That is. Hey, that's a great reason not to have mail-in ballots, isn't it? And that you're not salvaging those ballots. You're not salvaging those ballots, which, by the way, is a great reminder. Don't drop your ballots in the mail. Don't drop it in a box. Go do it the right way and turn it in. So I want to focus on the most egregious ways that the left projects all of their sins onto the right. All right. The first one is, of course, election interference. Oh, my goodness, election interference. And Republicans are constantly accused of that. Donald Trump has multiple different court cases going on over it. And they're clearly accusing us of this. But just yesterday, Rachel Maddow and Victoria Nuland, who was Biden's former Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, lobbed all these Russia accusations. Once again, Russia. We can't get past Russia over at not only Donald Trump, but Elon Musk as well. Watch.
Third election in a row in which Russia has tried to interfere to try to get Trump into the White House. How do you assess the
Vladimir Putin endorsed Kamala Harris
of interference they're attempting this year compared to what they've done in his previous two elections?
Yes. Well, as you said earlier, Rachel, he's at it again. This time he's not even trying to hide his hand, and he has far more sophisticated tools. His AI is better, so he can make these fake videos. He has done things like spend $10 million trying to buy American influencers and get them parroting his lines and not even know it's happening. But he's also got a brand new, very, very powerful tool, which is Elon Musk and X.
Oh, no.
In 2020, the social media companies worked hard with the U.S. government to try to do content moderation, to try to catch this stuff as it was happening. But this time, we have Elon Musk talking directly to the Kremlin and ensuring that every time the Russians put out something like this, it gets 5 million views on X before anybody can catch it. So it's quite dangerous.
Oh, my gosh. As Kamala is begging influencers, please take my money. We will literally pay you to do a Zoom interview with me because I really need to pretend like people like me. Please, I will pay you. Nobody wants to do it. Meanwhile, they spent 2 years, a 2-year investigation into whether or not Donald Trump was colluding with Russia. 32 million of your taxpayer dollars. No collusion was the end result of that report, but we're still hearing about Russia. And, as we're talking about this party of projection, as we're talking about election interference, it's just interesting because the only interference that I see is on one side here. Here's a bunch of, they are tearing down. Donald Trump signs are so hurtful and offensive to them that they have to tear down these signs. Because, of course, remember, they don't give a shit about free speech either. They just want to tear down all of our signs. Watch. Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. What did that sign ever do to you, ma'am? She can't handle it.
Over to this yard sign that reads "Veterans for Trump," abruptly kicks it and wanders off. A minute later, he's back again.
That was a feminine kick right there,
on the
man.
home. Then just after 6, our friend returns a third time, something yellow in his hand, a piece of paper he leaves in the mailbox.
First thing is I was worried about
look at that
my
soy
home,
boy.
and I'm worried about my kids and my wife who were
That
there.
soy
'Cause I
stomach.
wasn't there at the time.
The Pembroke Pines homeowner didn't want to be identified, but says the energy and effort that this took was alarming, let alone
Look at
what
this
was
loser.
in that letter.
What a fat
going
slob.
after him as a veteran for supporting a, quote, low-life pig.
It talks about how I was a disgrace to my country and a disgrace to the U.S. military because of my choice in candidate. And at the very end of the letter, he actually tells me to go to hell.
Wow. What nice, inclusive, peaceful people. That's not voter suppression, voter intimidation, election interference. No. Just a nice, lazy, fat slob loser telling a veteran you're a disgrace to the military and a disgrace to this country for supporting a low-life pig like Donald Trump. Shame on you. You might as well take down your army sign. Your military service means nothing to me. Go to hell. Well, his military service means a whole hell of a lot to the rest of us, you fat slob. Why don't you go do what you just told him to? So it's not just election interference, right? Another way that they do this is political violence. This is what they're accusing us of. This is what they're doing. They want to talk about January 6th. It was worse. It was worse than 9/11. It was worse than every single attack that's ever taken place in the history of not just the country, but the globe. Okay. All right. It's just fascinating to watch this because you remember how over the last couple of years, really powerful, influential people within the Democrat Party, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and even members of Hollywood have incited violence over politics. Here's a little refresher.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
But Donald Trump talks about the auto industry becoming a bloodbath and, oh my God, it's political violence. These people are not serious people. They're accusing us of all sorts of political violence, yet they are not only encouraging their people to commit political violence. They're doing it. Pennsylvania residents with Trump signs in their yards have received really, I would say, quite disturbing letters warning them about their support for Donald Trump. They said, in part, we are writing with the concerns, what the letter said. We're writing with the concern about the level of political violence in the country during the election year, as well as the threats to our democracy and freedoms. That's how you know that it's a crazy lib, is when their opening says threat to democracy. Your candidate is a felon, rapist, desecrator, and an immoral, flawed man. He is a major reason violence is up. Remember January 6th and Charlottesville. That's the only thing this loser can think to cite is January 6th and Charlottesville. He is the biggest threat to the country and does not understand the idea of America as defined by George Washington and the founding fathers. Your vote for this guy is seen as treading on my rights. You tread on me at your own peril, mother. We look forward to visiting you in the future. Well, that sounds a whole lot like voter intimidation and election interference, especially given the standards that the left has set for what election interference and voter intimidation and suppression is. Because remember, it's some sort of voter suppression because the state of Georgia and some of these other states actually created more laws to make the elections more secure. And the Democrats were like, they won't let you give them water. That's really mean. Well, I'd say this is a whole hell of a lot of voter freaking intimidation, which, by the way, maybe a regular person would be intimidated by that. I'd be like, bitch, come say it to my face. It's cute that you had to put this in the mail. Why don't you ring my doorbell and see what happens? And the other part of all of this, party of projection, they accuse the right all the time of censorship, right? They accuse us of oh my gosh, you want to censor, you won't allow porn in school libraries? I can't believe you want to censor. You want to ban books. Well, do you remember when Hillary was advocating for social media platforms to cease control of their content? Watch.
There should be a lot of things done. We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
I mean, that wasn't like Hillary from 2016. That was Hillary a couple weeks ago. Okay. So they want to accuse you of wanting to censor things, and yet they are constantly trying to censor you out of existence. Trust me. Ask me how I know. Let's see. I'm going on. How many months has it been? Last April of 2023, I was demonetized and booted down in the algorithm by the overlords here at YouTube. If this is where you guys are watching that, tell me how much I know about this censorship bullshit. Also, Ben Shapiro, actually, he posted this series of tweets where he revealed it. Tucker Carlson revealed it as well. The New York Times is actually now using Media Matters to pressure YouTube to penalize and pressure conservatives, demonetize conservatives, censor conservatives right before the election because, of course, they want to destroy conservative media. They're scared, guys. They are running scared. They are so scared of losing their power. Here's what they texted Ben. Good day, Mr. Shapiro. I hope you're well. I'm Nico Grant, a reporter at the NYTs. I wanted to give you an opportunity to comment on an upcoming article that takes a look at how political commentators have discussed the upcoming election on YouTube. We rely on an analysis conducted by researchers at Media Matters for America. Ha! Researchers at Media Matters for America. Perhaps the most biased freaking organization against conservatives out there. And that's who the New York Times relies on. Don't let that be lost on you. Could you kindly provide us with the comment or decline to comment by end of day tomorrow, Tuesday, October 29th? Thanks so much for your time. And so what the New York Times told Ben that they were going to include in their report, they said, oh my gosh, Media Matters identified 286 YouTube videos between May and August that contained election misinformation, including narratives that have been debunked or are not supported with credible evidence. Researchers identified videos posted by you in those 4 months that contain election misinformation. And then they go on to include, we feature a clip of you saying your party rigged many of the voting rules in advance of the election in order to ensure an extraordinary number of mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, etc. And of course, the questions come, are you a member of the YouTube Partner Program? If so, how frequently does your YouTube demonetize your videos? Has YouTube sent you messages, emails, or notices in the last year that your posts, that your videos contain misinformation? Because that's what it's all about. He wants to turn us all in to the YouTube police so that YouTube can boot us from their platform, because you can't have people questioning the integrity of an election. Well, I mean, you could up before 2020, because it was pretty typical, especially of Democrats, Stacey Abrams looking at you to question the results of an election. That was like commonplace up until it became, oh my gosh, a dirty word in 2020, when you had, of course, perhaps the most egregious examples of election fraud. Yeah, I said it, YouTube. Perhaps the most egregious examples of that happened in the year that they decided that that was a dirty word and you weren't allowed to talk about it. They want us gone from existence. How much more proof do you need? Okay? The left is a party of projection because they are ruled by fear. Well, what do they fear? Losing control over you. Losing control over you. It's why they're going crazy. It's why you've got random chicks screaming at little girls in the street outside Kamala Harris, Beyonce wannabe concerts. It's why you got Hillary saying we need to censor all these platforms that are spreading all this. Remember the disinformation that was Hunter Biden's laptop until it wasn't disinformation? They want the control. They are so terrified to lose that control over you. And so terrified of Donald Trump coming in and dismantling all of their bureaucrats. Because if there's one thing that he overlooked, it was that. I know he wanted to drain the swamp. I know he ran on draining the swamp. And I know that he had every intention of draining the swamp. The problem was he trusted the wrong people. He talked about it on Joe Rogan. He admitted. I knew no one. I visited Washington 17 times in my life, and it was all for Trump Tower or whatever. I didn't do this politics thing. I didn't know anyone there. I walked into this not knowing who to trust, and they surrounded me with losers. With deep state bureaucrats. That's not going to happen again. You think maybe after 91 indictments and 34 convictions, felony convictions, I think he's learned his lessons now. Okay? So remember, they are projecting their sins onto you because they fear you. They fear losing control over you, and they fear it because we're winning. All gas, no brakes. Don't let your foot off the pedal. Keep going until Tuesday. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold. Obviously, there's a lot at stake in this upcoming election. But the problem is, regardless of who wins, we've still got $35 trillion in national debt. Now, if the left wins, it's going to be even worse. Okay, it's going to be way worse. But regardless, now is the time to look at diversifying into gold with the help of Birch Gold Group, because historically, gold has been a great hedge against inflation. It has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife. I say all those things are happening right now. So if you have an IRA or 401k just, collecting dust, let them talk to you about converting that IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, tax-free, penalty-free. It's not going to cost you a penny out of pocket. So there's no reason not to talk to them. Just do this. Text the word Sarah to 989898. They're going to send you a free information kit on gold, and it's no obligation. So there's no reason not to just gather information. I'm not a financial expert, but they are. So go talk to them. You can do that by first texting the word Sarah to 989898. All right, nothing like coming back from the break with a little self-promotion. Those of you who are listening on the audio podcast, or maybe you're not, but you have Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, just go over and rate us 5 stars, because we deserve no less. And then while you're at it, give us a nice review, and you may actually see your review read on air. We used to do that. I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back, baby. Okay, so impress us with your creative reviews, and we will read them. Well, we'll read the best ones. All right. So no pressure. Just make it good. All right. So make sure that you go subscribe, rate, and review our podcast over there. All right. So I want to show you guys a clip from a Chicago Police Department press conference held yesterday with Police Chief Larry Snelling and Chief Detective Antoinette Orsetti. And I want you to just Pay really close attention, okay? And after the clip, I'm going to ask you what you think actually went down. Watch.
There was something stated from that individual while he was exchanging gunfire with officers.
What did he say?
And if I may, Chief Rossetti, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, without getting into anything too much, the statement that was made while he was engaging our officers is nothing that we could bring in as evidence at this point that would support any motive against his actions towards our officers as well as towards our victim.
Was it believed to be English, another language? What did he say?
We're not going to be able to put out that information right now because I want to make sure I'm not misstating anything, and so we can coordinate through the Office of News Affairs, because I am certainly not going to misspeak and have there be any misunderstanding about the statement. So as appropriate, we will get that information out through News Affairs.
And then, is the suspect a resident of Chicago? Is the suspect a citizen of this country?
That is still under investigation right now. Right now, we're trying to identify a valid address. So we're still working on that information right now.
How soon could you make a decision about whether hate crime charges will be recommended?
When evidence of the facts present themselves.
Okay, a little strange, a little dodgy, right? So what do you think happened? I'm going to give you some options here, all right? Was it A, a domestic violence situation gone wrong? It's gone bad. Maybe B, a school shooting. We hear that those are up all the time because they manipulate the numbers. Or, let me give you one more. C, a heinous terrorist act and a hate crime where a Jewish man wearing a yarmulke in the largest populated Jewish area of Chicago on a Jewish holiday was walking to a synagogue and was shot in the shoulder by a Muslim extremist who was screaming Allah Akbar. And then that Muslim extremist, terrorist, engaged in a gunfight with police. If you guess C, you're correct. Congratulations. Well, congratulations for being correct. Not congratulations of the state of our country under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris open borders policy. So here is what actually happened. Watch.
Do you want to come in? Do you want to come in?
I'm good, thanks.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right there. Okay, so unless you're deaf, you heard him and you realize it was a Jewish man on a Jewish holiday going to the synagogue. Seems like a pretty open and shut case to me. So you may be asking yourself, why doesn't the Chicago Police Department just call this what it very obviously is, an act of terrorism and a hate crime? Well, let me introduce you to the DA, the district attorney of Cook County, Kim Foxx. Yes, she was installed by none other than George Soros in 2016. She is, by the way, she's choosing not to run for re-election at the end of this year, but she will enjoy her tenure until then. George Soros donated $2 million to her campaign, and Kim Foxx discussed her record. She's really proud to be part of a very special category of rogue progressive prosecutors, apparently. Watch.
So getting back to the legacy question.
Yes.
Is Kim Foxx's legacy that she just made this place a little bit more fair?
I think Kim Foxx's legacy is that we've made it a bit more fair. Also, I should say, nationally, the field of prosecution has shifted. The field has shifted.
Yeah, I'd say so.
From Chicago to San Francisco to LA to Boston
You're
to
no longer
Philadelphia
prosecuting
to
criminals.
Manhattan, the field has shifted. That where we once were known as the false confession capital of the United States, we have led the country in the exoneration of individuals 5 out of the last 6 years. That once where we were the only office that shared felony level case data, every major prosecutor's office in big cities shared their data. that marijuana legalization has spread and prosecutors have led the forefront. It is one, I think at the end of this, I will come and surround myself with the number of books that have been written about me in this office. And people don't know that. There's several books that have been written about this administration.
Wow, they sound like just page turners if nobody knows that the books exist. Thanks for that, Kim. Yeah, there are a lot of nationwide DAs and prosecutors who are sharing data about what? The people that they're letting back out on the streets. You've got San Francisco, George Soros installed DA, Gascon. You've got her in Chicago. You've got, of course, Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. Yeah, of course. Fannie Willis in Fulton County in Georgia. Yeah, yes, there are a lot of moves that are being made. There are a lot of changes taking place when it comes to prosecuting criminals. None of them are good, Kim. Let's take a look at crime in Chicago. Their average homicides per year before Kim Foxx, 501, which not great, I'm going to say, but before Kim Foxx came was 501. Since she took office, the average has jumped up to, oh, look at that, 666, which is not only higher, but is also the mark of the beast. Take that for what you will. All right. Because as we know, everything about this party and the people that they are installing are freaking demonic. And now the police can't even tell you that a terror attack took place. Question everything, guys. Question everything at every level of government that they are telling you. Question everything. All right, we've got to take a break and we will be back with more. I think maybe I'll bring in my panel, see what they have to say. First, we want to thank our sponsor this segment, Kalshi. So who do you think is going to win the presidential election? I just went to Kalshi earlier today and they have Donald Trump at 65% chance. They are actually, I don't know if you know this, they're the first and only legal prediction market in the United States. And so they got, finally, after years of working with the feds, they got historical regulatory approval from the CFTC that enabled it to offer a new asset class called event contracts, which allowed traders to take positions on whether a future event will happen or not. And so you can now trade on any event that has economic or social relevance to them only with Kalshi, okay? When people trade on a question like who will win the U.S. presidency, Kalshi gets really accurate forecasts of whether the event will happen or not. And they, I encourage you to go check them out right now. Election markets are currently free. If you want Donald Trump to win, go put your money where your mouth is. Okay, get started with a $20 cash bonus. Kalshi will give you a Kalshi credit after your first trade. You can join today by going to Kalshi.com/Sarah. That is Kalshi.com/Sarah. Welcome to the show. We've got the panel in here now. Logan Hall, of course, our Blaze Media digital strategist, Dark MAGA activated today.
Not the Dark MAGA hat.
I love it.
Last night.
I love it. It looks great. Unlike mine that has dog and cat hair all over it. You need to clean it. When it's a black hat, it shows it very, very well. Also, welcome to the show, Eric July, of course, Blaze TV contributor and founder of Ripaverse Comics. Thanks for being here. So I'm sure you guys saw this. It's gone super viral. Last night, CNN had a panel discussion on talking about Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. And, you know, I mean, they can't stop talking about how it was basically you're all Nazis for being there, for supporting him. He's definitely literally Hitler. And you are a Nazi if you attended. And so I want to play after just CNN guests, commentators, hosts constantly calling Trump Nazis and you Nazis if you support him. I want to play this exchange with Ryan Girdusky and Mehdi Hassan, in which afterwards Ryan Girdusky was fired for saying this. Watch.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing.
You're called an
anti-Semite.
You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and no, by me, I never called you an anti-Semite. Okay. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I don't.
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. So I'm used to it.
Yeah, well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die.
You
should not.
No,
Did you just say I should be killed?
Look at that feigning outrage. Oh no! Oh wow!
Oh, let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
That's crazy.
The Palestinians.
Hamas.
Guys,
let me know. Are you?
Am I what? No,
so
I apologize.
So they keep going on. They keep going on. for the sake of time, I won't play the whole thing. It is really great because you can tell the moment where the left realizes I can be the victim, and they're like, "Oh, you said what?" And so, of course, they announced that they fired Ryan, and CNN released this statement. They said there is zero room for racism or bigotry at CNN or on our air. We aim to foster thoughtful conversations and debate, including between people who profoundly disagree with each other in order to explore important issues and promote mutual understanding, but we will not allow guests to be demeaned or for the line of civility to be crossed. Ryan Girdusky will not be welcomed back at our network. Oh, okay. So they welcome civil conversation, civil discourse, but they will not allow guests to be demeaned or for the line of civility to be crossed. And they definitely don't allow racism or bigotry. Okay, I'd like to take a look with you guys at some of the times that CNN had absolutely no problem being racist and bigoted. How about 2020, when they wrote an article, How Good White People Derail Racial Progress? Good white people is in quotes, by the way, because as CNN would say, there is no such thing as a good white person. They said the media loves to focus on the easy villains who get busted on cell phone videos acting like racists. But some scholars and activists say good white people, the progressive folks in blue states, not you, Logan, the kind who would have voted for Obama for a third time if they could, are some of the most tenacious supporters of systemic racism. Yes. Yeah. That doesn't sound like civil discourse to me, guys. That doesn't sound like civil discourse at all. And yet, there it is right there in an article on CNN. Let me give you one more, and I've got several more, but let me give you one more before I get your thoughts, and then we'll go through some of these other ones. Here's another one. White supremacy with a tan. Another article that CNN put up there. White supremacy with a tan. Some political myths refuse to die despite all evidence to the contrary. Here's another. When white people are no longer a majority, racism will fade and the U.S. will never be a white country again. And so they go on to talk about how racism will likely be just as entrenched in a browner America as it is now. It will still be white supremacy with a tan.
Yep.
Because people like me, people like you, Eric, you are still a white supremacist.
They call us definitely because I'm straight, right? The white people of black people.
That doesn't sound very civil. That actually sounds pretty racist, guys.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is the racism alarm kind of at like category 5 here? And they're like, oh my God, we don't tolerate racism or bigotry on this network unless you're white.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it was. That was foul. Saying that on air, it was hilarious for me. I mean,
I didn't hate it.
No, I didn't.
Constantly calling us Nazis.
It was a joke. It was a joke. It was for sure a joke. Nonetheless, they just thought it was distasteful.
You're calling half the country Nazis. I find that to be distasteful.
Well, for sure.
How many millions of Jews were killed? And you want to equate this to that?
Right. And that just goes to show that it's kind of more or less slanted one way in terms of what's appropriate. The type of either racism or bigotry, or let's just say distasteful jokes according to them, because we know that people, I mean, look, we've covered it a million times on this show, the stuff that gets levied out there on their show. Right. It's just absolutely foul about whether it be politicians that they despise, right? Supporters of said politicians. They do that all the time. So I don't for once believe, and I hope they don't think we're stupid enough to believe that, okay, they're fainting on the couch and they're really like that offended at someone saying something that's distasteful on the air. You've done it in articles. You've done it on the air. Nobody believes you.
Logan, let me get your thoughts. I'm going to bring you in here, but I want to get your thoughts on this headline from CNN. There's nothing more frightening in America today than an angry white man.
I think there are a few more frightening things. Maybe these like Venezuelan gangs that are taking over whole apartment buildings and Haitians taking over Ohio. Yeah, I do.
How many apartment buildings have you taken over?
None.
Really?
I'm not angry yet, so we'll see. Yeah, my thoughts are Mehdi Hassan should probably be deported, along with a lot of these other commentators. CNN is a joke. That whole network, you can see why nobody watches it anymore. I mean, you're just sitting there screaming at each other over one little joke. Basically, the Democrats nowadays are just the fun police. They like,
really are.
You can't say that. That's not funny. How dare someone? Kamala was doing this the other day with Trump. She's like, some people think he has a sense of humor, but he is deadly serious. He's not funny at all. That's what they do. It's like one big school marm that just polices and tone polices everything. We have to get away from this feminization of our national conversation and get back to an America where we can joke around with each other. You know,
right.
The funny thing is, for years, for decades, it was supposedly the other side that had to stick up their butt about everything. Yeah. Right? Like that's what we it was all it was the prudes, right? They're talking about Christians and wanting to police every single thing, like especially with like regards to the arts, like music and everything else. So it's kind of crazy to watch how that's just completely switched. And now the tone police seems to, almost exclusively come from the left.
Well, you're always going to have national religion, and I think the Christians who were kind of maybe stuck up, their America was certainly more enjoyable than whatever this is that we have now that we're not allowed to joke about or make fun of.
Let me give you one more when it comes to CNN's standards of what they air. Okay, here's Don Lemon when this was 2019, and he said this on air to Chris Cuomo.
So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right. And we have to start doing something about them. There is no travel ban on them. There's no ban on, they had the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban. So what do we do about that?
What do you mean, what do we do about that? That seems pretty charged and racist, okay? And you'll notice that not only did Don Lemon double down, I believe it was the next day, he doubled down and came out and he was like, oh my gosh, listen, I made comments. Evidence is overwhelming that white men are the biggest terror threat. I stand by my comments. CNN also refused to release a statement about it. They literally said, we have no further comment, and neither does Don. Just didn't want to comment on it at all.
Yeah. I think the path forward for Western civilization are you can have a country and a functioning society, or you can succumb to them name calling you. And you just have to learn to get past it. You can't treat it with any sort of legitimacy whatsoever. These people are frauds. I think they did one. There was an article about Larry Elder saying Larry Elder was like the blackface of white supremacy or something like that. Or something like that. And it's anyone who wants to have a country or a functioning civilization, that's suddenly racist. So you just have to not pay any attention to it, ignore it, and say, I am not going to apologize to you.
Yeah, well, yes, and mock and shame them too.
Mock and shame.
I would add. Like I had a guy who I was commenting on Joe Rogan's post about whether he should allow Kamala to change his podcast rules, right, his format. And I was like, no, she should have to do the exact same format that Donald Trump did. And this guy was like, F off, Nazi.
Yeah, these words have no meaning.
Yeah, and that's why you just mock them. I quote tweeted it. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, that's right. This is the Democrat talking points. This is tiring, guys. I'm not offended by that. I'm not I just feel sorry for you. I pity you. That's all that you have is just calling each one of us Nazis.
Yeah, they're retarded. I mean, there's no
they really are.
Another way to put that. And I think mock and shame in that regard is for sure effective because the whole point is to dehumanize you and obviously to invalidate anything that you say. That's the reason why they even clutch their pearls and sort of feign out on the couch. But it's meant to sort of derail any sort of conversation, right? I think I've talked about it on the show before, back when I used to do I monetize your hater stuff, and I was doing all the streams and stuff. Yeah. I was going back and forth with leftists, and I remember one I don't know, some trans supporter whatever called me a transphobe. And I didn't even address it. I didn't even address the point at all. I went on about the original conversation, and this person just stopped me and was like, "Wait, so you're not gonna address this argument, this your supposed transphobia?" And I was like, "I'm in no position, right? Or I'm not under no requirement, to sit up here and address Bullshit. I don't have to do that. And they don't know what to do, right? And they have no, when you do that, when you like, okay, you're going to call me whatever you're going to call me, you're stupid for doing so, and you just go about your business, they don't know how to react.
They just short
because
circuit.
they want you, that's the whole point. They're trying to drag you down into the mud. They want you to get on the defense right from all their nonsensical claims.
Yeah, this is where you have to go to the Breitbart strategy, which is just F you. Or.
Exactly.
And that's it. And that's
Exactly
it. And this is also, to his point really quickly, what he said about them, the media dehumanizing you through this. This is what is so unique about this election cycle is that Trump is on these Joe Rogan podcasts. And they're doing all these podcast tours. Very hard to dehumanize someone when they're sitting there for 3 hours having a normal conversation.
Absolutely right. All right. Before we go, I just want to remind you guys, join us on election night. It's going to be a party, I hope. Go to blazeelection.com/Sarah. You'll get $40 off if you go there now. blazeelection.com/Sarah. We're like 6 days away from the election. And I would say by this point, we all know who Kamala's VP nominee, Tim Walz, is, which is this.
Let's go.
There he is. Oh my gosh, he's a passionate clapper. Look at him prance around on stage. Well, we found the October surprise. Tim Walz isn't actually gay. Maybe, I would say.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. Maybe. But so now we can reveal in the 1980s, while teaching English in China, Walz apparently had a secret affair with Jenna Wang, a daughter of a prominent member of the Chinese Communist Party. Her father was Bin Hui. He was the leader of a CCP labor union in China, and she thought that this affair would end in, with a marriage proposal, but Walz dumped her, and she said it was so humiliating that she fled China for Italy for several years and even contemplated unaliving herself, which, man, look at that nerd. If Tim Walz breaking up with you makes you want to unalive yourself, like, you are a loser. I'm just going to go ahead and say. So I want to look at, like, let's have just kind of a brief overview of all of the ways that Tim Walz is connected seemingly to all of these CCP connections, right? He lied about Tiananmen Square because he claimed that he was there. He covered up this high-profile affair, but also a DHS leak revealed that Chinese operatives marked him as a target for possible future engagements, and they said Walz is someone they can get to D.C. On top of that, 2019, as Minnesota governor, he advocated for new trade deals with China, and the Minnesota State Board of Investment committed more than $900 million in funds to Chinese companies. And as governor, he backed a Minnesota medical research center, the Hormel Institute, with connections to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He also, back in his day, you remember, he's America's dad. He's America's teacher. Well, before the Confucius Institute started springing up here in this country, he actually worked with the CCP to send students to China. He and his wife founded a company to fund these trips, which was shut down in 2007 when he got elected to Congress. He talks about Chinese communism, he has a long history of talking about Chinese communism as being a good thing. How much more proof do you need that this guy's a freaking communist? He loves them. He's like, we should model that for us. He's dating Chinese Communist Party members' daughters. Like, hello?
I would almost take that brand of communism more seriously, and I would respect it more, as opposed to like Tim Walz and Kamala Harris's version of gay race communism, which I would argue is probably more destructive than just like the typical old-fashioned communist.
Right.
Because now everything is divided along these lines of, it's not just class oppression, everything's divided along the lines of gender and race as well, and everything has to be gay and ruined and retarded, as Eric said. And it's just sad. I think this guy took like 20 trips over to China or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
at least.
I haven't been to a lot of American states 20 different times,
Right.
and I've been all over the country. But yeah, it's pretty alarming. And is there a single Democrat that's not compromised by the CCP
Isn't
nowadays?
that crazy? I know. That's what's so it's him. It's someone in Kathy Hochul's office, I believe, Eric Swalwell and Bang Bang Fang Fang and Maxine Waters, I think. Yeah, Joe. Thank you, Joe and Hunter Biden. I mean, they're all connected to the CCP. Gavin Newsom is like removing American flags and replacing them with CCP flags when the Chinese government comes in town. I mean, like, how much more proof do you need that these people are in bed with the Chinese Communist Party?
I just kind of assume, definitely when you're that high level in the political ranks, that you're doing something with those guys over there. But I mean, even for just looking at it surface level, that's a whole hell of a lot of coincidences to be tied to China. Like a lot of them, like a significant amount, right? You're working directly with them.
Do you know if anyone were to investigate what ties I have to China, it would be zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I'm an American.
Zero. Right. Like just absolutely zero. No question even.
Yeah. No, it's one thing like, okay, you own a company and some of your products happen to be manufactured in Asia or something like that. That's not what we're dealing with. We're dating daughters and we're specifically kind of organizing these sort of deals with or using the governmental power to specifically do that, right? To organize these sort of deals with China. Like I said, that's just way more of a coincidence. So perhaps he does admire the CCP. I love what you bring up because, their version of communism is a lot more gay and retarded than, unfortunately, the Chinese, which is also retarded, make no mistake. But, at least the Chinese, we got Black Myth Wukong. In our version of communism, you get Concord and you get gay games like that, right? Yes. So, I mean, if you got to select one or the other, maybe you select the former, but all of it's retarded. Let's be honest. If I'm no more tongue in cheek, communism is terrible.
Yeah. Did you see that she was like, I really liked his big mouth.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that she was attracted to. I was like, I wouldn't consider that a nice thing about Tim Walz. What do I know? All right, let's go ahead and let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Before we go, I would be remiss if we didn't play Kamala at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor yesterday. Somehow she just gets worse at this every time she goes out to give a speech. Here was an awkward moment when she was trying to, I guess, connect with the students. Watch. They like it. They like her. They're yelling her name.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people first.
If I could die of secondhand embarrassment, I'd be dead right now.
Yeah, give me something for the cringe.
It's so bad. How does she get worse at this? When they're chanting your name, you don't tell them to stop and chant their own name. Who would think that's a good idea?
Lizard person, probably.
Or a retarded person.
Or, yeah.
Word of the day.
Retarded.
Word of the day, boys and girls, is retarded.
Yes.
We're bringing it back. Okay, there's no other way.
And gay. Yes, absolutely.
And gay. There's no other way to describe what you just watched.
No. It's cringe.
It was terrible.
Goosebumps from I don't know if you can see from the cringe.
Really? Goosebumps for all the wrong reasons, honestly. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Make sure that you follow both of them on social media, and we will see you guys tomorrow.